I've been lucky to be on Stranger Things, which was just, I love the script, and it's just been such a joy to get to know, just to grow with all the cast and the crew. It's just been such a blessing to be part.
I understand certain parts of Stormfront. I don't understand certain parts of Stormfront, but I am familiar enough with the world to be able to play. Even when you're delighted by her, you are sickened by that once you realize who she really is. And that, you know, evil comes in many packages. And I think that's a good lesson for today. It's not always the person with a swastika on there.
I loved playing Dr. Fay Miller on Mad Men because she was such a well-rounded, you know, really dimensional character. She was ahead of her time, a feminist in the, you know, in the 60s, and she really stood up.
I am still not good at rejection. I still cry when I don't get a job that I wanted. I still feel like it's my fault or I did something wrong. I am more used to it now, and I know that intellectually that those low points are just a part of it.
I love India. I've been there.
Hello everyone, I'm Rudrani and welcome to Speak Easy. My guest today is very special and talented. What a range, and Aya Cash is, I'm sure, very proud of that. Welcome to the show, Aya. But it's true, look at your range.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me. And, you know, if you could just write that everywhere for me, that would be helpful.
Don't tell me I can't be the first one saying that to you. Come on.
No, it's lovely. Honestly, today is the first time people keep saying that to me, which is lovely and shows how special this project is that I was allowed to do something totally different.
I want to compliment you. You are phenomenal as Stormfront. And I think it's such a difficult character to pull off. And of course, I'm going to come quickly to this, but it's so important for me to, I'm talking about a range and I cannot not mention Stormfront. I know it was difficult because when you have a role like this, which is morally completely opposite to who you are as a person, and also extremely tricky when it plays out. And today, we're all trying to do the right thing and give the right message through films even. And I know you had that bit of dilemma as well. Tell me, you know, how that phase was for you, and also when you're doing such characters, how important is it for you that the morality of the film remains correct that towards the end of it?
It's really important to me. I feel very lucky that I'm at a place in my career where I can make choices, which was not always the case. The choice was often made for me. And I do try to now, if I'm going to play somebody who is complicated or even evil, I would say, for the boys,
Sure.
That the story that we're telling around that character is something that lines up with my moral compass. And you can't control the outcome of things, and you can't control how people are going to react to things. So all you can do is say, do I feel like this is telling a story that is important and needs to be told and fits with my moral compass? You can't really control the reaction. And I felt like talking to Eric Kripke that even though I hadn't been able to read all the scripts, that his ideas and what he wanted to do with that character were in line with what I would want to happen to somebody who was that evil. So she gets her comeuppance, and that was really important. That even when you're delighted by her, you are sickened by that once you realize who she really is. And that, you know, evil comes in many packages. And I think that's a good lesson for today. It's not always the person with a swastika on their back.
And it must be a relief that you got so much love. We're going to miss Stormfront in the other seasons, right? That means that they have understood what you were trying to do. And, you know.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, The Boys is such a, like a joyful experience. Like, it's a great group of people, and it was so fun to shoot. And then coming out, there's always, with every project, you sort of get nervous to have your baby in the world, and people are like, I don't like her, I do like her. And the response has been overwhelmingly positive. And the negative, there has been, of course, the normal, you know, nonsense negative, but there's also been some interesting think pieces that made me also think about things differently. And that feels like a total gift, to be able to do something where people are writing a think piece about the character and what it's trying to say, and even having issues with it. That's the right kind of interaction with art. And that's what I'm interested in doing.
Here. Now, this Girls from Plainville this is something, again, extremely opposite of what you've done, right? Also tricky because this is not fiction, right? The fact that this is based on reality and on real incidents, did that play in your mind? And where did you sort of figure that out?
Yeah, it's always scary to play a real person because you want to do them justice. And it really depends on the job, what the sort of brief is. And for this, I was told pretty early on that Katie Rayburn is a jumping off point. So the facts of her are real, but that I was allowed to do my own interpretation, because this is, we say it's not fiction, but it is. It's a fictionalized version of something real. So there are real people, but there are scenes in this show that happened over text that are now in person. There are fantasy sequences. We are taking the ideas behind this case and allowing more humanity in by expanding the world that we couldn't possibly know in real life, because nobody has a camera on them at all times and no one has a camera inside their brain. So I liked that we were basically given nobody said you got to do a mimic, you have to be this person exactly, and this is what we're doing. It was, this is a jumping off point and we can go from there. Sometimes you have to do, I think, honestly, Elle has to do much more to bring that character to life because she's so familiar in the public. I mean, she was so front and center. So there, to look like her exactly, which I think the hair and makeup on this is phenomenal and should win all the awards. I mean, she looks exactly like Michelle Carter. So I feel like there's a different pressure on someone like Elle, and she obviously carries it with grace. And I mean, she's brilliant. So.
Do you detach yourself when you play a character, or do you as a person also judge the person, like judge the character when you're sort of reading the script?
I think to say that you don't have judgment of a character is a lie. Like, I think actors are very much like to say, well, to play a character, I have to understand them and think they're, sure. But again, I understand certain parts of Stormfront. I don't understand certain parts of Stormfront, but I am familiar enough with the world to be able to play that, even if I am not, I don't think you have to become a serial killer to play a serial killer, and you may never understand completely. So it's about finding the empathy for the places in a human that you can connect to, but it's not. But of course, I judge Stormfront for sure. And Katie Rayburn has some complications in our version of her, and ambition and what that is, and that was important to see and find reasons why, and have her struggle with that as well, is both her ambition and her belief, which were often in the same sort of canister and sometimes separate. And how does that play out?
Ravi, you saying that it's been more than a decade for you in the industry. How did you deal with your low phases, and how do you look at your successes today?
And not well. I would say I am still not good at rejection. I still cry when I don't get a job that I wanted. I still feel like it's my fault or I did something wrong. I think I am more used to it now, and I know that intellectually, that those low points are just a part of it. People like to talk about fallow fields. You need to leave a field fallow for some seasons in order to get the best crop. So I try to fill my life with things that are outside of this business and people that are outside of this business, because that's what keeps me grounded and not so invested in my identity as an actor who is successful or not successful.
Well done, well said. Thank you, Aya. It was lovely chatting with you. I'll have to go, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you once again. Sending you love.
Thank you so much.
Today, my guest is very talented. Her name is Cara Buono, and she's done diverse characters on screen. I'm so excited to be chatting with her. Hello, Cara. Welcome to Zoom TV. Welcome to India.
Hi, so nice to meet you. I love India. I've been there, and I'm looking forward to going back someday soon.
Fantastic. Have you watched any Bollywood films or any Hindi films?
I went to a wedding in Mumbai, and then it was like a 3-week event that we traveled like all over the country and got to explore.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really lovely.
In the beginning, you've done characters that are diverse, right? But in the beginning, was it a challenge for you to sort of not be labeled and not be put in a box? How did you break that?
I've always been pretty fortunate to have played a lot of different characters. A lot of times people will say they'd never recognize me because I think if I even just have my natural color hair, people will be about this far away from me and not recognize me from, say, my work on Mad Men or Stranger Things. So I don't feel like I've had to be too worried about being put like in a box for anything yet.
Ever, not even in the beginning.
I it's funny. I grew up in the Bronx in New York City. I was had a very at the time like a very heavy Bronx accent, which I love, and I was maybe typecast as like your typical like New York City or Italian kind of character for a while, and which served me when I was on The Sopranos. But then it was so very funny because as I've transformed into other roles, people have a hard time believing that I can do that character now, which I think is kind of funny.
Cara, does it get kind of tricky when you play roles that are already inspired from real life incidents, like the one that we're doing here?
Well, The Girl from Plainville was my first foray into a project that was based on real life events. And I think there comes a responsibility in a way for something with the subject matter, which is so sensitive, right? We're talking about teen suicide, we're talking about mental health issues. So I think there was a real sensitivity to who these people are. And my character didn't give any interviews. There was really no video. There was really nothing for me to research. So the showrunners and the creative team, we created who we think the mom would be, Elle Fanning of Michelle Carter, and kind of fictionalized that to a certain extent based on just some images and pictures we could see. So I think that we all felt like there was a sense of responsibility to the idea, the subject matter of the true story.
You mentioned a few. You mentioned Mad Men, you mentioned Stranger Things. Can you quickly tell me, if you had to pick your top 3 characters, what would you pick from your career and why?
I would say I loved playing Dr. Fay Miller on Mad Men because she was such a well-rounded, really dimensional character. She was ahead of her time, a feminist in the 60s, and she really stood up to Don Draper during that time. And I loved the costumes and everything. And The Sopranos, what an amazing opportunity to have been on The Sopranos and work with David Chase and all those amazing actors. And I guess I'd have to say, I've been lucky to be on Stranger Things, which was just, I love the script, and it's just been such a joy to get to know, just to grow with all the cast and the crew. It's just been such a blessing to be part of that show.
Season has blown up. I mean,
yeah.
Is there a particular character of any other actor that you wished you had played, and why?
Oh, well, years on theater, I used to do a lot of theater, and I always wanted to play Irina in this Chekhov play called The Three Sisters. And I think I've kind of grown. I'm too old to play that role, but one of these days I'd like to do a production of that. Some of the Greek tragedies. I'm sort of fascinated by some of the complex characters. So we'll see.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right then. Thank you so much, Cara. I think it was lovely chatting with you. and hope you come to India and you get to visit us again.
Yes, I can't wait to return. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and I love Indian food too. So,
Okay, great. See you. Once you come here, I'm going to take you out for having some great Indian food. I
I'll take
promise
you
you
up
that.
on it.